Looking back to the stadium, and like myself and Danny, our pitch side, well, that didn't go to plan, did it, for Sunderland? But it really showed the gulf between the two sides, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah. I don't think you can argue that over the course of the 90 minutes, and I think they started well, didn't they? First couple of minutes, set play early on down this right-hand side, an opportunity for Longstaff as well. So it's sort of the signs of what was to come, really. And yeah, you can look at it. It's a good learning experience for the boys. In all honesty, we didn't really lay a glove on them, and it's disappointing when you're talking about a local derby. But as you say, they are where they are at this moment in time, and I think over the course of the 90 minutes, the gulf in the class showed.
Yeah, what positives can Sunderland take out of this? There was a lot of young players out there. Sunderland, of course, the younger side in the Championship, playing in their first derby game against a side which only a couple of weeks ago were in the Champions League. Will they take stuff from this game as players?
Well, I don't think they'll have enjoyed it as much, How do you enjoy games of football? Obviously by winning. Experience for them out there, isn't it? Looking at who you're up against, and for instance, you look at Jack today, and Jack's usually our main man, isn't he? Had a disappointing afternoon. On the other side of the pitch for them, Gordon driving up the pitch was a threat all afternoon. So it just shows, looking at them, who's sort of in my position, for our midfielders up against their lads. Bruno, give him credit, I thought he run the game for them in the middle of the park. So you look at them thinking they're the levels, that's what I want to, they're where we want to get to at this moment in time. We're a Championship side, top end, competing for the playoffs. They've just been playing in the Champions League, PSG, Dortmund, teams like that. So massive credit for our boys, gave it a go, but let's be honest, we were in a threat. We had a 5-10 minute spell in the second half where we hit the crossbar. Pierre Echo had that opportunity, but other than that, it was a comfortable afternoon for Dubravka and their back four.
Let's have a look through the action then from the game, and maybe we can see where Sunderland went wrong. But of course, you can point to all three goals as to reasons why Sunderland didn't get anything from the game, and they were all faults of Sunderland players.
In a way, yeah. So I mean, we'll have a look at it now. But there's the chance early on for Longstaff, isn't it? And credit to him as well. He's one of those players where sometimes he perhaps doesn't go and know. He's not a flair player as such, but he puts the hard yards in it, and he gets himself in the box. And he had 3 opportunities in that first half, and that first one there, good save from Anthony Patterson, reaction save, isn't it? It's on top of him. But this was their main threat and our biggest problem in that first half. Down their right hand side, we weren't sure who was going with who. The rotations were excellent. You can see they're well oiled in what they do, Newcastle, and Trippier time and time again was getting bags of space down this right hand side for Newcastle and putting balls into the box. And as we say there, you look at the highlights, and if we can call them that from our point of view, not a lot to go on today. Didn't see Jack getting the ball really, driving it, Trippier getting past him. He had a couple in the second half where Trippier handled him quite well. And this one in the first half, we mentioned about mistakes, and that one there, Jack gets caught on the ball, and all of a sudden they play a pass through between our centre backs. Isaac wants the penalty there. I don't think it is. I've got to be honest. We've looked at it back a few times. The referee only gets one shot, and I think he's got it right. Ballard does enough. He leans across him. They've almost got their arms locked in with each other, but then there's no contact with the legs. He goes over Isaacs. He wants the penalty. Look, he's up there asking for it. And then a few minutes later, this was the problem down their left-hand side. Gordon goes to go in for feet, spins in behind. Trey tries to cut it out, doesn't get there. And as it's cut back there, it's Dan Ballard actually who makes a good block. And
that's the thing about Dan, he had a good game.
Yeah.
Apart from the penalty
over the course of the 90 minutes, but on the highlights you'll see he's involved in the own goal. Obviously, here it comes now, I think, isn't it? Trey again, can he stay on his feet, just match the run? He doesn't, and then Dan knows.
Why should he try and play it there though, Danny? Because it's very hard.
You know about Dan Ballard? Well, it's difficult. The ball's fizzed in. He knows he's got a man behind him. He's just trying to get a good contact and put it back from where it came from there. But unfortunately, can't get his leg up in time, or can't get the contact he's after. And it flashes past Anthony Patterson into the back of our net. And listen, let's be honest, they probably deserved the lead at that stage in the game anyway, for all the possession and the sort of opportunities they'd had. So you couldn't argue that, but it was just a problem constantly throughout that, especially in that first 45 minutes down our left-hand side with Adji Elise. I think Adji at times was getting a little bit too narrow, trying to tuck in and help Dan Ballard out, just allow Dan to take care of Isaac and Luke O'Nien. You do your job, whether it's Trippier getting on the overlap or Almiron, and then straight after half-time, Michael Beale's got him in there. Listen, he's trying to get his points across. What can we try and tweak a little bit? And then all of a sudden, within 30 seconds, we get caught trying to play out from the back. Pierre trying to be a little bit clever. He could have gone out to Adji on the touchline. He tries to chop inside. Almiron he reads it, he gets caught, and he puts it on a plate for Isaac, and he tucks it away. And that, if we're honest, is pretty much game over, isn't it? By then, you're talking 30 seconds into the half, and he knows he doesn't need Luke to tell him. Luke's just trying to get him going there, put it to the back of your mind. Still a long way to go. But then we had this is that little spell we had, didn't we? 5-10 minutes or so. Listen, it's not even a half chance, is it really? Pierre puts his laces through it. Is it Botman? Yeah, it's Botman, isn't it? Dangles a leg, just takes a nick off him, and Dubravka does well actually. He's going to his left-hand side, adjusts and gets the foot up and gets the blocking. And then Pritchard a few minutes later as well, similar, half a chance out of nothing really, just a bit of space. No options for him to slip a pass in, puts his laces through it, and then unfortunately off the top of the crossbar, isn't it, up and over the top of Dubravka. And that was pretty much it in terms of opportunities for us. We've seen a few of these challenges all afternoon, didn't we? Luke there with a decent challenge on Lewis Miley off the bench, and then he laid one on Gordon for his yellow card, didn't he, a few minutes later. So Almiron as well, yeah. Decent strike there, Luke back there getting the block in, takes one in the face, but it's what it's all about in derbies, isn't it? Throwing your body on the line, trying to get those blocks in, keep the ball out the back of the net. But unfortunately we'll see the third one in a moment or two. And again, Dan Ballard involved, as you say. I think Dan there, it's just frustration with him. You could see it there, type of player, isn't he? Wears his heart on his sleeve. And more often than not, if that's tight game, if it's 0-0, 1-1, as I said in comms there, Dan probably sees him out of play down there, makes him beat him, but he comes across and just straight into him. And
it's good save from Dubravka here.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Sorry, outside of the boot from Pritchard, similar to his other one where not too many options for him, and he just outside of the right boot in that bottom corner. Good save from Dubravka. Gordon there, yeah, angles against him, isn't it? Really trying to find that bottom corner, past that right hand side post. And is this the one Trey Hume feeds across? Let's have a look. Yeah, body in there. Yeah, look there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 bodies past the penalty spot. Not one of them is making that run across. Your natural striker getting across the near post area, and it's not to be. So yeah, and there's Dan there. Yeah, as I say, frustration there comes across. You can't argue it. Again, Gordon, when he gets going, he's up ahead of steam, isn't he? And then Dan comes across, and he knows straight away. Doesn't need to look at the referee. Picks up his yellow card. And it's the third one. And I say Isaac, he's got himself a couple of goals this afternoon. Wasn't involved in that much for Newcastle.
I think that's the thing, because Dan Ballard did the job on him.
Yeah, Luke and Dan handled him well really throughout the 90 minutes. But it's those moments in the game, isn't it? He's going away with a couple of goals in his back pocket. He's got himself a penalty, and he's got himself pretty much a tap-in, isn't it, with an open goal. So massively disappointing for us, and I think for the fans really that they'll feel going away from here, we haven't laid a glove on as much really, or had a lion's share of the game. But as well as we've been this season, a lot of possession we've had at home against championship sides, and a lot of showed us respect and say, no, Sunderland are a decent side, they play their football, they're going to have spells in the game. That wasn't the case today. Newcastle come here, set their stall out early on, pressed us high up the pitch and didn't allow us to play, and then we haven't really got that out ball then, because they're pressing us high, we can't go long. You got Alex Pritchard and Roussin, not the biggest, up against their big lads at the back there. They're going to mop things up, so it's a difficult one for us, and a difficult one for Michael Beale and his staff to take.
Yeah, absolutely, but they do have to dust themselves off and treat this as a cup competition, which it is, and focus back on the league, because Ipswich Town is the next game away next week, but they get a full week to recover.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so a week to put it aside now. It's gone. Disappointing as it is, focus is back on the league. We're in a good position still. Let's not forget that. We're still in the playoffs, and coming up against the side who you expect to be up there come the end of the season. Ipswich have had a good season so far. They've had a little bit of a dip in recent weeks. Obviously Southampton, one or two others leads in there, trying to get to them in the automatics. So yeah, good way to bounce back, isn't it, in a way? Obviously they took the 3 points off us here at the Stadium Light. Was it first game of the season?
Yeah,
I think it was.
In a game where we were well and truly in.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, so go down to Portman Road and try and come back with the points.
Yes, that's when we are back on air here on SAFC Live. It's a 5:30 kickoff on Saturday the 13th, down at Portman Road, as Danny just mentioned. So we'll be on air from 4:45 for that one. No other scores to look around at the moment, but do keep your eyes on the television for the rest of the FA Cup third round this afternoon. Sunderland are out of the FA Cup this afternoon, but they will be well and truly concentrating on the league for the rest of the season.